In this video I'm going to tell you about the gloves that I use for Scottish winter climbing. So I take two main models of glove on the hill and occasionally a third. These are the direct gauntlets, which is what I wear for most of my actual climbing, my harder climbing. So with hard climbing gloves, then the trade-off is between dexterity of the glove for doing complex tasks and warmth. And obviously our hands are really vulnerable to getting cold. You know, they're getting squeezed, so the blood vessels are getting squeezed shut, they're being plunged into the snow the whole time, and they're holding on to ice tools. So for years we were thinking of ways to try and circumvent that trade-off to a degree, and these gloves kind of do that by having two different types of insulation on the back and the palmar side of the hand. So on the palmar side they've got a kind of microfleece lining for insulation, which is still warm, but it's quite thin. And on the back side of the hand, there's more of a pile insulation, which is a little bit thicker and warmer. And so that's great because more insulation on the back of the hand doesn't really affect the dexterity too much, but it definitely does if it's on the palmar side. So that gives you that freedom to be able to fiddle with gear on your harness, kind of in extremis when you're on a climb, and also be able to use as little energy as possible to hold on to your ice tools on strenuous ground. That's important too. There are different versions. This is the gauntlet version, which just gives you that little bit more insulation around the wrist. But I also do use the non-gauntlet version because I do carry a spare pair. So these are a soft shell glove, and you are going to be sweating into them when you do a long hard pitch, and inevitably there's going to be the odd bit of snow that could get in and things like that. So I generally always carry at least one spare pair, usually with the non-gauntlet version just for lightness. And again, I would either put them in my little sack that I'm carrying if I'm leading, or in the sack that the second would sometimes carry. The grip is another really important aspect of the gloves. So that these have the oil tack grip on 3 of the fingers, which gives you really excellent grip on your ice tools. So you can have a very passive grip, you know, you're not having to actively hold on because you're slipping. They're sticky, you know, but on the index finger and thumb they have leather, which feels a lot nicer for getting carabiners off your harness, and you obviously want to do that efficiently without getting tangled up. So the other pair of gloves that I carry are what I would think of as being my belay gloves. However, although they primarily come into their own when I'm on a belay, I'll have them clipped to my harness with the carabiner loops on the fingers so they hang upright from your harness and the snow doesn't go into them. I'd wear these for the belay. They're going to keep my hands warm. Ideally I get them on as quickly as possible when I'm still warm from having climbed the pitch. And then I retain that heat for as long as possible. But I would also second in these gloves up to any difficulty level, and I would lead in these gloves up to around grade 8. So they're still a fairly dexterous glove and will handle hard climbing, no bother at all. So if the weather's really awful and it's snowing hard and blowing a strong wind, then I might wear these gloves all day, apart from the walk-in. For all the climbing and then all of the rest of the day, because they're still dexterous enough to climb pretty hard in. But more often than not, I'd wear the direct gloves for the climbing and then these for seconding and belaying. And these are Gore-Tex gloves, so they will stay completely dry, and they are fibre pile lining, so they are very warm. But if you're dealing with really, really cold conditions, really, really poor weather, then there is a bigger version. These are the Hypercoolwear gloves. And wow, straight away putting them on, they are super warm, very thick fibre pile insulation. So I don't think I would climb grade 8 in these, leading anyway. But if I was climbing an easier route in very poor conditions, or if I knew that I was going to be standing still on a belay for a long time, these would be the gloves of choice. These are really excellent and warm. And obviously for bigger mountains, where extreme cold could be dangerous, then these would be an excellent choice. And all of these gloves have wrist loops which you can attach around your wrist so that you can't drop them, because obviously that would be very serious in the big mountains. But I don't tend to use these in Scotland, but they're just larks fitted on. You can just take them on and off as you wish. So those are my 3 favourite choices for gloves for Scottish winter climbing. Thanks for listening folks, and I hope you have a great winter and get many good routes done.